Hey everybody, Zay here. Welcome back to the Zay's World channel. You already know why you're here. That's why I'm dressed. So I got the green on. Let's go ahead and get into it. Oh man, we definitely got something to address. So I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Game 5 of the 2024 NBA Finals wrapped up last night. This is the morning, not even the morning afterwards, it's like a whole afternoon afterwards. I've had a whole day to really process it all. But I'm sure you already know if you're watching this by now, especially if you came to this video. A huge congratulations on order because we have, for the sixth time in a row now, we have a new NBA champion. And this time around, it's the Boston Celtics. So they're able to win the title 16 years ago to the day on June 17th. Last time they won it, it was with Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, and Kevin Garnett. This time it's with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Al Horford. You name the guys, the whole list of them. We're going to go ahead and break down a bit of the, not really much to break down of the game itself. It was kind of a blowout. It was, what was that final score? That final score was 106-88. It was not close. The Celtics took a 10-point lead in the first quarter and pretty much they didn't even stop from that point on. I mean, you pretty much got the typical Boston Celtics game. Peyton Pritchard hit a great three at halftime that I think put them up like, I think it was like 16 or 17 points. But pretty much by then, that pretty much told you like it was wraps. But before we get into the aspects of the game, let's just go ahead and address the opponent here, which is the Dallas Mavericks. Give them a round of applause. Honestly, Dallas really didn't expect you guys to be in the finals this year this early, but you got to give props to Kyrie and Luka. Luka Doncic is a superstar. I think people need to understand that now. If you don't see him as one, it's clearly a European bias, or not even a European bias. It's just like you're biased towards American players and you're not respecting how great the international players have been. Luka Doncic is one of the top 5 best players in the league. No doubt about it. He definitely does need to improve defensively, as we learned that here. You cannot just win a championship with one great, skilled offensive player who isn't known for doing much on the defensive end. Kyrie Irving, look, I don't know what it is. Ever since he stepped on the on Lucky, on the actual mascot, like the logo of the Celtics, he's been 0-8. He hasn't won. He hasn't won in the building. The only win he got was Game 4. And if you're wondering, there's no recap for Game 4, by the way. The Celtics got their asses kicked. And I am sure that the response that they gave on Monday night was completely in retaliation, to the point that people probably think that they just purposely lost so they could win at home. Even if that's the case, I don't really give a damn. They're the champions anyway. But let's get back to Dallas. So, like I said, they still do have – Kyrie just didn't show up in this series. Does it change how I ultimately look at him, in the grand scheme of things? I'll get to that really later in terms of what this title means for it. But for Dallas as a team, they're still in a good place. If they didn't, them not winning it this year doesn't mean Luka has to leave in like 2 years and he can't get it done. He can still win a championship with this team. It's just that the West is very tough, and honestly, you're looking for the emergence of Derek Lively. So there's some great things to take away from this playoff run for the Mavericks. You really got to see a rookie in Derek Lively. I mean, he was hitting threes, or he was hitting that 1-3 in Game 4, and I was like, that looks pretty normal to you. And then, yeah, he didn't really do anything in Game 5, but for the playoffs as it was, he's a great player. So it's very, very good to have a good center you can build around. Not build around, but a good center that you can have to complete this set of what you need. You have your point guard. You have your shooting guard, actually. Let me not get into the specifics of it. You have Luka, and you have Kyrie, and you have Derek Lively. Now, all the other ancillary pieces, Gafford, Washington, all of those can be moved if you need to get another star. You don't need another star. All of those can be moved if you just need better role players or better shot creators. I think that you need more people who can shot create, because when Luke and Kyrie don't have the ball in their hands, there's not really much they can do. They are very good, like they're good off ball, but you definitely need like another person you can give the ball to and go, here, if we're both being taken out, there's got to be one other person who can get their own shot. That was very prevalent that they didn't have that in this series. Jason Kidd, still a good job coaching. Great, I mean, good great adjustments throughout most of his playoff series. It's just that this one he ran into a juggernaut, and that's pretty much all I gotta say about the Mavericks. Hopefully, you guys make it next year. The West is tough, as everyone says, so we'll see if you guys can make it next year. But anyway, let's get on to the Boston Celtics. Congratulations are in order. Let's go one. Let's go one kind of person at a time. Let's go top to bottom. Let's go top to bottom. Brad Stevens, Executive of the Year, Executive of the freaking decade. I cannot believe that he left this team a couple of years ago, and he didn't. Well, he didn't leave the team, but he left the coaching role. Like the bubble had been too much for him. It had put him through a depressive state. He didn't want to do coaching no more, and he left. He didn't want to do coaching no more, so he went up to the front office and became the GM. He hasn't missed ever since. The fact that you're able to turn Marcus Smart, Romeo Langford, I'm not going to get all the people. Was it Robert Williams? The sixth man of the year, Malcolm Brogdon. Not just any person. We had sixth man of the year, Malcolm Brogdon. And we turned that into Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and 2 first-round picks. Phenomenal moves. Like, that is some NBA 2K level simulation, shout-out clicks production type stuff. Like, I don't know how you did that, but he was able to do that. I mean, just from Brad's point of view, you got what you needed in terms of building the roster, and you didn't just build a roster, you built a young roster. The oldest being Al Horford at 30, I think he's 38 years old, 36, 38 years old, a little bit off there. But you've built it for the future. You've built a roster that can stay here for the future. Up next, I mean, Joe Mazzulla. I definitely have to give my apologies to Joe. I was definitely harsh on him throughout this season, thinking that not really this season, really last season, because I figured, okay, it's your first year. Udoka we figured was the coach that we really needed, and we were wrong. We didn't need Udoka. So, hey, no ill will towards him. Whatever he did was what he did, and that got him kicked off the team and all that stuff. But it's, a lot of people have their doubts about Joe. I had my doubts about Joe. He did a great job here. He really did have some great adjustments. You can tell that his game plan is, even if the shot's not falling, why the hell wouldn't you try to shoot it? Because you need to keep the defense on their toes. And I really, really do like that. I've watched a lot of breakdown videos today, obviously, because people have been breaking down their performance and how they've been playing it. But Joe's coaching is really, really great. I think his tactics are just wacky and quirky enough to keep the Celtics not just on their toes, but to just keep them working. And I think he wakes up a lot in them defensively, because he knows as long as you play great defensively and you keep trying to hit these threes, you can't be beat. But when the threes aren't falling, still try to shoot them, to see if they can go in to keep the defense on the toes, but just be strong defensively and find what the defense is going to give you. I mean, there's so many actions and sets that they could have ran with a healthy Kristaps Porzingis that has been ran many times throughout the season. People don't even realize how effective Derek White and Porzingis can be working together just in their pick and rolls. But we didn't even get to see that because Porzingis, he was injured. Speaking of the tall, lengthy guy, let's go ahead and get to Kristaps Porzingis. Thank you for coming from the Wizards. Yeah, thank God you got out of basketball purgatory at the Washington Wizards. Phenomenal. Great job. Didn't even need to play most of the playoff run, which pretty much answers, did we really need him to win the title? No. That's what's funny. We really didn't need him to win the championship. He's just a great piece that opens up the offense for us. Cannot wait to see what he looks like in a full series matchup, because I think that they're far from over when it comes to making these appearances. But Kristaps did a great job. He was the MVP of Game 1. That was exciting. I'll never forget Game 1 of this finals. Well, I won't forget any game of this finals, but Game 1 was amazing. Just seeing him get the respect and the love that he's earned from Boston. He had been missing for that much time, and then out of nowhere, 20 points in 20 minutes. I mean, he was on fire. He was just crazy. He was that was the best offensive performance he had put out the entire series. And he set the tone for the team, which was, how the hell are you going to beat them? How can you beat them? How can you stop them when they have literally 5 guys who can score 20 at any given point? And then, not with Al in the starting lineup, but you get what I mean. You have 4 guys. And then, of course, with Porzingis in the starting lineup, you really have 5. But bringing him off the bench is great. Honestly, not a bad idea going forward. If you ever want to try it for his injury concerns, bring him off the bench. He's a great bench player. Probably the best bench player in the league, which is crazy. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out the way. Derek White and Drew Holiday. Was able to get Porzingis last year. Cannot believe he went from Tingus Pingus being made fun of in New York to, Dallas, of course, he was with Luka and he wasn't used effectively, to the Wizards where nobody really paid attention to what he was doing besides Wizards fans and people who are basketball heads, to now you're champion, which is great. So fantastic for Porzingis. Love to see that. And Knicks fans, love to see that a guy that you drafted and hated on got to win a title for a team that you couldn't even meet in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's neither here nor there. But anyways, Drew Holiday was able to get him last year. I mean, Drew is like exactly what you need for a championship team. Like he pretty much, like I think Jason and Jalen were like 1 for 9 in the beginning of the closeout game, and Drew had like the first few points of the Celtics because the nerves were just so heavy for everybody else who had not gotten that close to winning the title besides Drew, who already has. He showed his championship mentality. He showed his, he just showed his mindset in terms of being where you need to be, being as effective as you can be. He had 2 great games early on in the first couple of games. And then he was great in the Indiana series too. Just phenomenal locking down defense, and just love Drew. Thanks to the Milwaukee Bucks for giving that championship. I guess now you can kind of shake hands. If you're a Celtics fan and a Bucks fan, you can shake hands now and be like, hey, we helped each other out. We're even, I guess. Not really though. The Bucks are far below us in terms of ability and skill. Like I fully believe if the Celtics played any team in the league, I think the only team that would have given them trouble is Denver. And they probably would have won 6 to 7 games. And I don't even think like heavy trouble. I don't think they're getting blown out in these games. Regardless, let's get back to thinking, people. Pritchard with his 2 great threes in this series, man, just keep doing that. I just love that he's there. But if he, he's such an embodiment of the Celtics pride and the Celtics culture. So love to see him get that ring as well. Let's get on to the big dogs as it is. Al Horford, man. Love that Al Horford. He's been in the league so long. I think it was him, Karl Malone, and John Stockton. And fuck Karl Malone. Let me tell you right now. Weird ass dude. But I love that Al got himself off the list of the most playoff games ever played without winning a championship. So there you go. So love to see that for him. Won an NCAA title in Florida, won 2 in Florida actually, and now he has an NBA championship after all these years, and he still plays well. He really still plays well. He can come off the bench for any team in the league and still play well, and he can still give you like great valuable minutes. So I'm so happy for him. Like of all members of the team, I really wanted to see him get the title. Third most, of course. Who am I missing? Oh my goodness, am I missing anybody? I was about to say, oh yeah, Derek White, the savior. Oh my goodness, Derek White. Absolutely love that we had White. He's been great. I mean, any prospect that you get out of San Antonio, Popovich taught him well. He's so skilled, man. He's so skilled. He can be a number one. He really could be a number one option on like any other team. I think he's like a better version of like CJ McCollum. Like it's very hard to describe Derek White. He's also just like Drew Holiday, exactly where you need him to be. He takes the right shot. When he's confident and he wants to take over a game, he can. But he's a great facilitator. He distracts the defense well enough. And now that he's won a title and he's shown everybody that he's that effective on the court, he's a fantastic distraction on the court in terms of pulling the defense away or just locking down defensively. He knows he does not have to have 20 to 30 point games. It's very kind of rare for him to have those. 30-point games. 20-point games, he can have them. But defensively, an absolute beast. It's great to have a backcourt that both made the all-defensive team. So, yeah, let's get on to the big guys. Jason and Jalen, my goodness. What do I even say about the 2 stars of the Celtics team that have been around for many, many years now? Cannot believe that back in 2016, the Philadelphia 76ers took Ben Simmons with the number 1 overall pick. I mean, back then you can because Ben was viewed as a great player, but he's a bum, so he doesn't want to play. He doesn't like planes or whatever. They took Jalen first, and then Brandon Ingram was taken second by the Lakers, so that's interesting. And then look what Brandon Ingram. He's doing well in New Orleans, but he can be doing better in other places because he's an incredibly skilled person. Then you take Jaylen Brown, and then you think, oh, are we going to run is the team really his? He's been heavily disrespected. I know that last year in Game 7 when Tatum's ankle got hurt, he was supposed to bring the Celtics to the finals against Denver last year, but he couldn't get it done. Couldn't dribble with his left hand, got made fun of, got completely punked out in that game by the Heat. Then they gave him $300 million and everybody criticized him. Now what are you going to say? He's the finals MVP. Absolutely very happy for him, not just as a player, but as a person. You like to see people who are in your age range and closer to your age just succeed and work hard. And I think that from everything he's been told from the beginning of the league up until now, he's just improved. He's absolutely the best. He was. It's very tough to say because Jason and Jalen both played very great in this series, but Jalen's energy, how he approaches the game, his post game, how he talks. He just has that mentality. You can call it Mamba mentality if you want to, but it's just his own. It's just his own sort of swag or culture that he's brought to the team. I mean, he's the one who's barking whenever they're on the roads to ask for the road dogs. How well he can speak of Bill Russell and of Celtics legends. How he speaks up for other people in the actual organization. I mean, he's a spokesperson. He's a spokesperson. He can kind of carry all of that on him and be great at what he does. Is he the absolute best person on the team? No, he's not the absolute best player on the team, but he was the best player in this series. We all know the best player on this team. That was Jason Tatum. Very, very great to see him finally get his first ring. I've never seen so much scrutiny for a person before. I mean, we've seen LeBron. Like, LeBron's been destroyed before finals, but this is crazy. This is different. So, not even go back too much, but like definitely I'll never forget. I think it was back in 2018 when they went 7 games with Cleveland. That was pretty much like when he arrived in the NBA. I think like by then Brown had been in the league for a year, and it was like with Terry Rozier and Markieff Morris and all of them. And I'll never forget it. I was like Tatum had dunked on Bond late in the fourth. I think those were his last points in the game, now that I think about it, which is very telling. Like, he was kind of cooking up until that point. But I remember he dunked on LeBron. That was the first time I saw a nigga dunk on LeBron. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, damn, you can't talk about a championship or NBA without talking about how this is going to affect LeBron's legacy. But they lost that game, which was really, really shitty because that was the year they had Kyrie. And people thought they were just supposed to go and win it that year. Well, not win it that year, but they're supposed to go against Golden State. So you see, like, of course, you get so much success young in your career. For the last couple of years, he's been heavily scrutinized. Well, really, up until the final, up until 2022. 2022, let's be honest, everybody knows Jason Tatum didn't show up. If he would have played just normal to his normal ability, the Celtics would have 2 titles now. Now that I think about it, it's like, whoa, they would have already had 2 because their championship window was closing, and he's not the closer, and he's not a superstar. I think the NBA has completely shifted and changed what it means to be not just a superstar, not just a winning player, but a face of the league and all that kind of stuff. LeBron's, Curry's, Jordan's, Kobe's, these are rare people that come every once in a while in the league. We can't just compare everybody to them whenever you see an ascension. There's other people who are ascending. We saw Anthony Edwards get a lot of praise in comparison to Jordan. Obviously, I feel like if Jason would have won the title 2 years ago and been the Finals MVP, they probably would have been making the Kobe comparisons. But it's great that it's not great that he lost in that 2022 Finals, but the progression, like back then he wasn't great at playmaking. Like you could tell, he wasn't great at decision making. This Finals he completely did it different. The shot wasn't falling, but he did get better at playmaking, at passing, getting his other guys involved, being a distraction for the defense, and still being aggressive. Like this entire year, I think a lot of people have said it. He's 6'9". He clearly can go to the basket when he wants to. He's just choosing not to. Maybe it's because of injury reasons. Maybe it's because he just wants to save it until the playoffs. But in the Finals, he did exactly what we wanted to do. He did take a lot of threes. He does like the three-pointer. But he went to the line, and he got to the line. He was aggressive, and especially in this game, he pretty much showed off his bag, as people would call it. He showed off what he can do. He showed off how he can get to the basket, how he can manipulate the defense, not just the spin move, but also just the length that he has. He's 6'9", but he also has long arms, so it's very easy for him to lay up into the basket. So, like I said, enough yapping about his play. Just happy for him. I think when you see a player or a person ascend and they are thrown into stardom way early and they see early success, you just want to see them get over the hump, which I think is much important. I know nobody's going to believe this next statement. If I wasn't a Celtics fan, I damn sure would still be a Tatum fan and a Brown fan too, just because I like seeing 2 young stars come up and win, Like, it does remind me a bit. It doesn't really remind me that too much of like KD and Russ, but it's nice. like I said, like I'll never forget that picture of KD or that image of KD, Russ, and Harden, and everyone said, "Oh, they're so young, they'll be back," and then they never made it back together. KD got his two. Harden and Russ are still looking for theirs. That was the biggest fear as a Celtics fan, is seeing Tatum and Brown lose and thinking, "Oh, they'll be back. They'll just make it," and then they never do. They finally won a championship. It is still hard to actually picture. Like, I do not understand that they won just because they've been dominant all year. The record this year was 80. I think it was 80-20 or 80-21. That is insane. That is insane that they've won 80 games. The fact they've been 16-3 without a playoff run. I know a lot of people are gonna call it boring. I know a lot of Celtics fans we don't give a fuck. But like I said in the last video, just appreciate a great team. I think that this is why, like, the Spurs and some other teams, the '04 Pistons, we're so fascinated by, like, even Denver was called boring. We're so fascinated by, like, oh, there's got to be a number on a championship team. There has to be the guy, like the person who wins in the title. This team is completely different. Tatum and Brown are completely different. They are 1 and 1A. In my opinion, it goes Tatum is the best player and then Brown is the second best player. And it doesn't matter in terms of finals MVP. You could have given it to either one. But going back to just the story of Tatum and Brown, how much it means to them. Like I said, their ridicule has been crazy, but they're young. And I know, like, Bron winning his first title, I think at 27, Michael winning it at 27, 28. Like it's so crazy how, like, in the last couple of months, or in the last couple of years, people were saying, like, the window's closed for the Celtics. They can't win it. As everyone else passing them. And now the narrative's completely different. Like, who the hell can beat them out the East? Like, nobody scares the Celtics out the East anymore. Nobody scares. Miami's not a problem. Bucks and them don't look like that much of a problem because Giannis needs to keep his health together. Philadelphia, please. Joel can leave. The Knicks can present a problem, but are they going to be healthy? Indiana was the toughest team to play, and they weren't still healthy. So, like, yes, I know that there were injuries along the way, but injuries happen in sports. And 5 years from now, nobody's going to be talking about the injuries along their way to win the title. They're going to be talking about the fact that they went 4-4 sweep. They went, how about this 4-4? They went 5-5 sweep 5. That's crazy. That's crazy. To win that many games. They went on a 10-win streak in the playoffs. They won 64 games in the regular season. Like, the stats are there. They blew out so many teams by 20 to 30 points. You just got used to it. I think they had like 2 50-point blowout games. But there's just so much I can really say. Watching them actually celebrate was amazing. I mean, it feels like you're really a part of the team. There's nothing like the city of Boston having its championships. And 16 years ago to the day, like I said, I'm just happy that they won. That's what really matters. So there's not really much more to say besides hopefully they can defend it. I'm really looking forward. If I have to do an early prediction, I would probably say it's going to be Celtics in Denver next year. I would love to see that. I don't think anybody in the East is a problem, and I think the West is a wild, wild fight, but I think Denver still has the best opportunity to win it. Of course, they get Banner 18, which means they are the most decorated franchise in the history of the NBA, which is very great because that means that still that, of course, that ties, the Patriots have 6 for the NFL. So it's nice to have 2 franchises that have the most championships for their franchises in their sport. Does this change the view? Oh, yeah, legacies going forward, so I can wrap this up. For Kyrie Irving, he definitely hurt his legacy the most here. I'm just shocked he didn't show up well. Like, I wanted to see Kyrie show up in the final. You know what I'm talking about, Kyrie Irving. Like, this wasn't him. This was definitely, like, not still hurt by Boston, but, like, the way we play him, we just shut Kyrie down. It's just as simple as that. We just know how to play him, and the defensive scheme and the breakdown of having 2 all defensive guards, like, thrown on him is really what stops him from making the best decisions. To the point to where he's not making the best decision for him. Legacy-wise, he's still one of the top 75 greatest players in NBA history. He is still the greatest ball handler the game has ever seen. If he's not, please go argue in the comment. Put it in the comments below and tell me who is. Nobody can handle the rock like Kyrie Irving. Please don't lie to yourself and say anybody else can. But still, it did damage his legacy. I do view him as you are a phenomenal second option, but I would not think that you can win a championship being the leader on a team, which is very funny because you lost to the team that you were supposed to be the leader of. But he learned. He learned what he needs to do, and hopefully he can take this advice and go ahead and help out Luka Doncic, which, like I said, legacy-wise, his legacy actually grew. I mean, he's still young in the league, but I think what Tatum and Brown had to go through early in their career, this is what Luka has to go through. It's just like, damn, I got there playing the best basketball I can. I know a lot of people have gotten on to him about his weight and his health. I think that's the number one thing he needs to address. Probably just losing some pounds, getting some muscle on him some more. He already has muscle, but he could get some more muscle on him so he can pound it to the paint, but I just think that his play style is very reminiscent of like James Harden, and it's like that looks good throughout the regular season. It might even get you an MVP, and I'm sure he'll probably, he's probably going to get MVP next season if I had to put money on it. But, I just think that legacy-wise, he'll be all right. He'll be fine. Dirk lost his first finals when he was with Dallas, so maybe he just needs to go to a second one and then win it. We don't know. All I know is all-time, Tatum will be a better... on this channel, Tatum will be viewed as a better player than Luka Doncic. Please understand that. They're both young. The new age of the NBA is here, and that is very, very great to see. In terms of Brown's legacy, he's top 15 in the league. He might fuck around and be top 10. I probably have to look at my list again and see who's like the top 10 in the league, in my opinion. But Finals MVP is tough now, but getting $300 million one year and then getting wagged on it and then winning Finals MVP the next, what can they really say? As they said in the celebration, what can they say now? A lot of the media and the talks has been crazy. And then for Tatum's legacy, look, he didn't win Finals MVP. Who the fuck cares? Steph didn't win his first Finals MVP. He only has one, and he has 4 rings. So at the end of the day, yes, it is a great accomplishment to have. I think Tatum, if I'm Tatum now, I'm like, hey, get that MVP, motherfucker. Hey, get that regular season MVP and try to go after that Finals MVP as well. But I think that they are built to be a dynasty. They're young. They know what pieces they can really get in the future to replace the aging pieces. But like I said, Al's still good. Kristaps is still good too. There's a lot of people under 30 on this team, and that is very, very scary for the league. But anyways, I know it's the longest one because I was the most excited for it. Sometimes it's just nice seeing your team that you support for a long time and you watch a lot of their games and you keep up with the interviews. And when you invest yourself as a fan to a team, it's incredibly rewarding to see them win and actually get over the hump and do it. And then I just seen iconic moments. Now it's just amazing to see they actually won the championship. They can do it, which is great. They got in the clutch. They blew out teams. They hit the 3, ISO ball. The 2 J's can work. All the narratives can be thrown out the window now. And you can just simply say, congratulations to the Boston Celtics on winning the 2024 NBA championship. And if you have anything bad to say, who gives a fuck? See you next year, guys. Peace out.